Hey guys, welcome back to Based MMA. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the career of Dustin Poirier, guys. I feel like Dustin Poirier is one of those fighters a little bit underappreciated right now, especially, he just got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. And, this is not a video that I necessarily planned for, but I was just thinking about it at the gym today. I was like, man, I feel like Dustin Poirier is one of those fighters that really represents what it's like to be the fighter, to have the highest highs, to have the lowest lows. Like, this is a guy that's lost pretty badly and has some tremendous success. For example, like, let's go a little bit over his career. His wins over Conor McGregor, man. I mean, those are incredible wins, especially the rematch, the second fight, where he was the first fighter to really knock out Conor McGregor. Nobody had knocked out Conor McGregor prior to that. He was the first one to do that, right? And he was not fighting a Conor McGregor that, as many of us like to think about Conor McGregor these days as a little bit washed. This was a Conor McGregor that, destroyed Cowboy Cerrone, that some people thought he had a good performance with Khabib. You know what I'm saying? So I guess Conor McGregor still had his mystique going into that Dustin Poirier rematch. So we have to give a lot of credit for Dustin Poirier, guys. But I'm here to talk about what I think is a sad truth. And the reality is, guys, that I feel like Dustin Poirier, I feel like he's about to fall off. I really do believe that, you know, I get it. I get it. He's had losses in his career, but I don't think he's gonna come back from the Gaethje head kick KO the same, guys. And I know that Dustin Poirier wants to go back in the cage and he wants to, right the wrongs of that loss. But I really do believe that we're about to see kind of the fall off of Dustin Poirier, if we're not already seeing that. Like, I know he won against Michael Chandler, guys, where he was able to submit Michael Chandler in that third round. But going into that third round, I felt like Dustin Poirier, it was a very, very competitive fight. I even thought he was losing the fight. Not losing the fight, because actually it was 1-1, because Dustin Poirier did drop Michael Chandler in that first round. And then the second round, Michael Chandler was able to land the takedown, control Dustin Poirier on the ground, land a lot of ground and pound shots. So for that, Michael Chandler probably got the second round. But, it was a pretty competitive fight, right? Because if Michael Chandler lands another takedown in that third round, I mean, you could arguably give that fight to Michael Chandler at 29-28. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like Dustin Poirier is coming from dominating. I mean, the last domination, I think the last great performance from Dustin Poirier is probably the second Conor McGregor fight, which was when? Like early 2021. So it's been quite a while, and I really do believe that Dustin Poirier, not saying that he's not hungry, but he's already very successful in his career. I mean, those Conor McGregor fights, I'm sure it made him a lot of money. I'm sure it made him a lot more famous than he usually was. And I'm not saying he's like Conor McGregor famous, but he's pretty famous for a UFC fighter and gets paid pretty well as well. He also has things outside of fighting now and stuff like that. So I just don't think that Dustin Poirier is going to be fighting at the highest level anymore. I think that, he might end up fighting Rafael Fiziev. I could kind of see him losing that fight now, especially after that Justin Gaethje head kick KO. If he ends up moving to 170, which he has been discussing lately, I don't think it's a good idea, man. I think he's kind of small for 170. I think he would have a hard time, like, against people like Gilbert Burns. I think Colby Covington would give him problems. I mean, he's too small for Leon Edwards. I mean, I don't think he would get a title shot, but Bilal Muhammad, like, Wonderboy Thompson, like, I don't know. I don't really see him. Imagine they give him Shavkat, like, he would get absolutely destroyed. So I don't really think moving up to the welterweight division is what Dustin Poirier should do next. And I don't really see him having a lot of success in the welterweight division. And based on that post-fight interview after the head kick KO loss, he didn't seem that excited or that or like he wanted to really fight lightweight contenders anymore. So what really is next for Dustin Poirier? I mean, is he gonna move up to 170 and get, I guess, fun matchups? I mean, what if he loses those matchups? You know what I'm saying? So I could kind of see Poirier starting to go on a losing streak now. I still think he's one of the best fighters in the lightweight division ever. I think he's top five in my opinion. Just look at his resume. I mean, he has wins over Justin Gaethje, a win over Michael Chandler. He has a win over Conor McGregor twice, Anthony Pettis, Max Holloway. Um, who else am I missing? Who else am I missing? I feel like I'm missing someone. Eddie Alvarez. I think he beat Eddie Alvarez twice. I think the first fight might have been a no contest. Um, yeah, man. I mean, Bobby Green, like he's fought who's who in the lightweight division. I mean, he fought Charles Oliveira, where I think he was doing pretty good in that fight, and obviously, um, especially in that first round. I mean, he had Charles Oliveira in a lot of trouble, and then the second round, Charles Oliveira was able to. I don't think he took him down, but Dustin Poirier kind of took himself to the ground. And then the third round, obviously Charles Oliveira was able to submit Dustin Poirier. So, he's had a lot of losses. Not a lot of losses, but he's lost against the best guys in the division. I mean, he lost against Khabib as well. So I think Dustin Poirier is one of those fighters that is very underappreciated. But I think it's time for us fans to accept the hard truth that I just think Dustin Poirier is at the end of his career. I really do believe he's at the end of his career. And I could kind of see him, I could see him going on a losing streak now. And if he fights like a very dangerous matchup at 170, I think he loses. I think him versus Benil Dariush could be pretty competitive. Armin Sarukin could also be competitive. I could see him losing to Rafael Fiziev. I think that the Fiziev performance against Justin Gaethje has aged pretty well now because we've seen that Justin Gaethje is actually improving. I know a lot of people were kind of saying that Fiziev got fraud checked in that Justin Gaethje fight, but the reality is that Fiziev did pretty well in that fight. He had a lot of success, but Justin Gaethje had improved just a little bit more and was able to get the finish. Not the finish, he was able to get the decision and win that second and third round and just experience, you know what I'm saying? But I just think that Dustin Poirier, guys, I think he's at the end of his career. I think he's at the end of his career. Do I think he should retire? I don't think he should retire because I don't think he should retire on a loss, but I think he should get a pretty good matchup next, get a win, and then call it a career. I mean, I think he's done everything possible in the lightweight division. I know he was never able to really become the undisputed champion, but he became the interim champion. He fought the who's who of the division, put incredible performances. This is a fighter that's never boring. I love the way he fights. I just wish he didn't grab his shorts and during the fights as much because it annoys me. I know it's like a tick of his, but he needs to stop doing that, guys. But anyway, I just think Dustin Poirier is at the end of his career. I think that the guy's a little bit underrated, underappreciated in the MMA community. And we've seen in this sport, guys, that once a fighter, I don't want to say popular fighter, but a fighter that, is kind of popular in the UFC community, once a fighter loses, I feel like they quickly fall into irrelevancy. Like, let's talk about Kamaru Usman as well. Like, the guy loses his title, and I feel like nobody really cares about Kamaru Usman. Like, I hardly feel like anybody brings him up anymore. And I could kind of see a similar situation with Dustin Poirier where he loses, let's say, he already lost to Justin Gaethje, right? Let's say he fights a Fiziev, loses again. And I could quickly see him like falling into irrelevancy. I think Dustin Poirier is smart enough to like know when to retire. I don't think he's gonna pull a Tony Ferguson where he goes like on a 5-5 losing streak. I think he's wise enough to, be aware and be I guess be aware of his fighting ability now. And we know that as fighters get older, you get slower. His chin has been cracked now, so how's he gonna take punches after that head kick KO? You know what I'm saying? We saw that Kamaru Usman wasn't really that the same after that Leon Edwards head kick KO. So, you know what I'm saying, guys? But yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on Dustin Poirier, guys. And like I said, I've just kind of been thinking about his career in retrospect and all the amazing things he's done for the UFC, the incredible performance he's put on. But I really do believe that he's at the end of his career, and it's something that I haven't seen a lot of people bring up, that Dustin Poirier is getting a little bit older in there. He just got knocked out. Before that, I guess he has the Michael Chandler win, which was a very competitive fight. Prior to that, he got submitted by Charles Oliveira, and then he beat Conor twice. But we know that Conor McGregor, I think for a while now, Conor McGregor hasn't been like at the top of the sport in terms of MMA skill and ability. So that's something to consider. Not, I don't want to take anything from Dustin Poirier's wins, but the reality is that Conor McGregor isn't like a dedicated UFC fighter. You know what I'm saying? And I know that in at the time there's still really good wins, but the reality is that I just don't think Dustin Poirier is at the top of the lightweight division anymore. I could see guys coming up starting to maybe beat him either by with the wrestling or maybe with just the durability, the striking and stuff like that, guys. So yeah, that's just the sad truth, and that's just kind of like that's what's gonna happen to a lot of our favorite fighters now. It's just that, you know, we're gonna see them have these peaks, and then they're gonna start to fall off and lose, and we're gonna start to see a lot of the fighters that we love. Look, at some point, Volkanovski's gonna end up losing and go on a losing streak. At some point, you know, Justin Gaethje's gonna retire. At some point, you know what I'm saying? Like, a new generation is coming, whether we like it or not. And I just think that Dustin Poirier has made enough money. He's had an amazing legacy. The reality is that he's most likely not going to be an undisputed champion at this point, with Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira at the top, and now Justin Gaethje now even knocking him out in the second round. Um, I just think that those aspirations should probably be gone. And I think him having a couple of fun fights should be good, but I just hope that he takes the right matchup. I guess my advice to Dustin Poirier would be take the right matchup, take a good matchup that you could win. Don't take any wrestler in the welterweight division. Don't take a very dangerous up-and-comer like Shavkat. Um, but that's the thing, like the welterweight division is filled with a lot of wrestlers or a lot of, you know, strikers as well. And I don't think Dustin Poirier is big enough for the welterweight division. Like, especially against Justin Gaethje, he looked quite small in there. Like, I was impressed by how big Justin Gaethje is. Like, I guess tall. So I think he would have a hard time with the welterweight division. I guess maybe an RDA fight, Gilbert Burns could be potentially dangerous, but you know, Dustin Poirier I do believe has the better boxing out of the two. So, but Gilbert Burns has a lot of power as well. So you know what I'm saying. So Gilbert Burns can knock him out. So I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of worried that Dustin Poirier is gonna lose his next fight and then kind of go on a losing streak. So yeah, guys, I just kind of wanted to make a video about that. Let me know what you guys think of Dustin Poirier and what he should do next. You guys also believe he's kind of at the end of his career, that he's in an interesting spot right now, especially after that loss. And I really do believe that I really felt that prior to that Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier rematch, that the loser of that fight was potentially going to retire or be at the end of their career. You know what I'm saying? I really truly believe that if Justin Gaethje would have lost that rematch, I think he might have called it a career, because Justin Gaethje is one of those fighters that said, like, if I'm not fighting to become a world champion, then I'm not going to fight. And I feel like Dustin Poirier feels the same, but I just think that any fighter, like, you don't want to go out like that. You don't want to, you know, call it a career in a sport that you've invested so much on a loss, you know? So that's why I truly do believe that Dustin Poirier should get a favorable matchup next, guys. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.